Good morning and welcome into our Friday 5 for 5 today. I'm excited to have you guys with me here on this Friday as we look forward to a weekend. I'm excited about this weekend at the church because it's Lord's Supper or Communion weekend. And so we're going to be celebrating communion together this weekend at the church. I do encourage you, if you would like to stop by the church and pick up some of the prepackaged communion supplies, we've got those available in the front office, and the office is open today from 9 until 5. So feel free to stop by and pick up some of those so that you can celebrate communion with us in both our 9 and our 10:30 service this coming week. You know, as I was thinking about our devotion this morning, I wanted to share with you guys what I shared with our choir on Wednesday night. And it's something that I saw that really I had not seen before in reading this story. But it's just jumped out to me this week as a friend of mine had actually sent me an email discussing this story with me. And you know, a few years ago, our children in our summer music camp did the musical Jonah's Druthers. And we talked a lot about Jonah. And one thing that I have missed so many times in looking at the story of Jonah is that when Jonah fled from God's call on the ship, going as far away as he could from where God had called him to go, we know that there was a storm that hit. And you may miss this passage of scripture, you may look right over it, but it says that while the storm was going on, the men were afraid, but it says that Jonah was asleep. Jonah was asleep. He was downstairs in the belly of the ship, asleep. And I love this because even though Jonah was asleep, God was still at work. Even though Jonah was not actively pursuing what God wanted him to do, God was still at work. And even in that time, if you read a little bit later in Scripture, it says that after Jonah is thrown into the sea, in verse 16, it says that the men on the boat turned and worshiped the Lord for the first time. God was able to use Jonah's unproductiveness to actually bring people to salvation and to bring people to worship and glorify Him. So, you know, there may be times over this past year, and it may continue now, as I think it does for us as a choir ministry, as we're still not totally back leading in worship. Sometimes it feels like, you know what, we're just not being effective right now, or you may feel that way in your life, that you just don't feel like you're being an effective witness for Christ, or you just don't feel like you have the opportunities that you wish you had for God to use you. But know that even when Jonah was asleep, God was still working behind the scenes and using him. And you remember that throughout this weekend and in the weeks, months, and years to come, that even though you may not be able to see it, and even though you may not be able to even contemplate it, God is behind the scenes and He is still working. Even when it seems as though we're asleep, God is still at work. Don't ever forget that wonderful fact about our God. God is always at work in our lives. I love you guys. I hope you'll have a great week. And again, we cannot wait to worship with you as we celebrate communion together this Sunday morning. Have a blessed week. Bye-bye.